Welcome to our channel, where secrets are revealed, emotions are pushed to their limits, and every story carries the weight of truth. Here, we don't just recount what happens on screen, but delve into the dark side of humanity, ambition, betrayal, love, hatred, and irreversible mistakes. Each video is a tense, dramatic journey where every small detail can change a character's fate. If you love dramatic stories, unexpected twists, and insightful psychological analysis, then you're in the right place. Join us as we step through the gate where the truth is never simple and everything hidden will be exposed. The truth does not arrive gently. It seeps into the room like poison itself, slow and irreversible, staining every thought it touches. When Lynette exposes Hayley's role in the poisoning that ended Bill's life, the revelation does more than shatter a carefully constructed lie. It detonates the fragile balance that had allowed everyone to keep breathing. What follows is not a single moment of shock, but a prolonged collapse of certainty, identity, and trust. Lynette has not come to this point without cost. For weeks, suspicion has gnawed at her, growing louder each time she replays the past in her mind. She remembers the overlooked details, the moments dismissed as coincidence, the way Hayley always seemed one step ahead of grief, one step removed from guilt. Lynette's anger is not explosive at first. It is sharp, controlled, honed by sleepless nights and the crushing weight of knowing that if she is right, everything she believed about loyalty and protection has been a lie. Her decision to reveal the truth is not driven by righteousness alone. It is fueled by resentment toward herself for hesitating, for allowing fear and affection to delay justice. In exposing Hayley, Lynette is also condemning her own silence, and that realization burns almost as fiercely as her rage toward the woman she is unmasking. Hayley, meanwhile, is already unraveling long before the secret is fully laid bare. Beneath her composed exterior, panic coils tightly, constricting her thoughts. She has lived in a state of constant calculation since the night Bill died, measuring every gesture, every expression, every word spoken around her. The poison was never meant to spiral into death so quickly. In her mind, it had been a solution, not a sentence. Bill had stood in the way of everything she believed she deserved. Control, recognition, freedom from a future that felt like a cage disguised as stability. Her actions were born from desperation, sharpened by entitlement, from a belief that she was correcting an injustice rather than committing one. Now, as Lynette's accusation takes shape, Hayley is forced to confront the reality she has been evading. The line she crossed cannot be redrawn. The story she told herself that she was a victim acting in self-defense against a life slowly suffocating her begins to fracture under the weight of consequences. The man left reeling by the revelation finds his world split cleanly in two. Grief had already hollowed him out after Bill's death, but grief had at least been honest. It was pain without intention, loss without betrayal. Learning that Bill did not simply die, but was taken by design, forces a reckoning far more violent than mourning. His shock is quickly eclipsed by a surge of anger so intense it leaves him unsteady. Memories he once clung to for comfort now turn corrosive. Every shared moment with Hayley becomes suspect, every kindness potentially rehearsed, every tear possibly staged. The darkest realization is not that Bill was poisoned, but that the person responsible lived among them, accepted their sympathy, and benefited from their trust. His internal conflict deepens as rage collides with guilt. He begins to question his own role in what happened, replaying conversations, wondering whether his blindness gave Hayley the opportunity she needed. The desire for retribution rises instinctively, but it is entangled with fear. Acting on that anger could destroy what little remains of his life, yet suppressing it feels like a betrayal of Bill's memory. He is trapped between the urge to expose, punish, and reclaim control, and the dread of igniting a chain reaction that could consume everyone involved, including himself. As the truth spreads, the environment itself seems to tighten, pressing in on the characters and amplifying their worst instincts. Trust erodes rapidly, replaced by suspicion and defensive calculation. Every glance becomes an evaluation, every silence a potential threat. Lynette finds herself isolated by the very truth she has revealed. Though she has acted to stop a lie, she is not spared judgment. Some see her as courageous, others as reckless, and a few quietly resent her for disturbing a fragile peace they preferred to maintain, even if it was built on falsehood. This reaction feeds her inner turmoil.
She begins to wonder whether exposing Hayley was an act of justice or an act of vengeance disguised as morality. The certainty she felt when uncovering the evidence gives way to doubt as she watches the fallout spiral beyond her control. Hayley's world contracts rapidly. Corners close in as options disappear one by one. She oscillates between defiance and terror, clinging to the belief that everything she did was necessary. In her mind, Bill had power, and power justified resistance. Yet the more she insists on this narrative internally, the more hollow it sounds. She is haunted not only by the image of Bill's death, but by the realization that her actions were driven as much by pride as by fear. The loss of control she now faces is the very fate she had tried to avoid, and the irony is not lost on her. This awareness breeds bitterness. If she is to fall, she refuses to do so alone. Resentment festers, and with it the impulse to deflect blame, to expose other secrets, to remind everyone that the moral high ground they claim is far less stable than they pretend. The tension between the characters sharpens into open hostility without a single word needing to be spoken. Their movements become abrupt, their expressions guarded. The air is thick with unspoken accusations and restrained fury. Decisions that once seemed unthinkable begin to feel inevitable. Lynette considers how far she is willing to go to ensure Hayley cannot escape accountability, even if it means sacrificing relationships she once valued. The man devastated by Bill's death grapples with whether justice through official means will ever feel sufficient, or whether taking matters into his own hands is the only way to quiet the storm inside him. Hayley, sensing the narrowing path ahead, weighs the cost of confession against the terror of total exposure, calculating whether partial truths might still save her from complete ruin. Each choice tightens the noose. There are no clean outcomes, only varying degrees of damage. The characters are no longer driven solely by what is right or wrong, but by survival, guilt, and the need to reclaim some sense of agency.
Their internal battles manifest in reckless behavior, self-sabotage, and escalating confrontations that push them further from redemption. In the wake of Bill's death, the poisoning becomes more than a crime. It is a catalyst that strips away illusions, forcing everyone to face the parts of themselves they would rather deny. By the time the truth fully settles, nothing remains untouched. Relationships fracture under the strain, loyalties invert, and the promise of safety evaporates. Each character stands at the edge of a different abyss, shaped by their choices and the emotions that drove them there. Anger no longer burns cleanly, it corrodes. Guilt no longer instructs, it paralyzes. And in this landscape of betrayal and consequence, the most devastating realization emerges quietly and relentlessly. The poison did not end with Bill. It spread, invisibly and effectively, into every life connected to him, ensuring that no one escapes unscathed. And just when it seems there is nothing left to uncover, the story tightens its grip one last time. What was once dismissed as tragedy now stands revealed as a chain of deliberate choices, each driven by fear, pride, and unspoken resentment. The truth does not bring relief, it brings devastation. Trust collapses, alliances turn poisonous, and the line between victim and villain blurs beyond recognition. Every secret exposed gives birth to another, darker and more dangerous than the last. What remains is not justice, but consequences, heavy, irreversible, and merciless. As the walls close in, each character is forced to confront the most terrifying realization of all. The enemy was never just one person, but the silence, the compromises, and the lies they chose to live with. In the end, no one walks away clean. The gates may still stand, but everything behind them has changed forever.